chaos has exploded inside Westminster tonight. Keir Starmer, the man who once promised stability, is now at the centre of a political firestorm after a secret EU deal was leaked. A deal that could bring his entire leadership crashing down. A no-confidence revolt has been launched against him, and the backlash is unlike anything Britain has seen in decades. What was meant to be his masterstroke is now spiralling into a rebellion that threatens to destroy both his career and his party. The shockwaves began the moment details of Starmer's hidden agreement with Brussels were exposed. What had been whispered about in dark corners was suddenly dragged into the light, and the truth hit Westminster like an earthquake. Starmer's deal, struck behind closed doors, was no quiet compromise, but it was a surrender. Sovereignty diluted, fishing rights handed back, and EU legal oversight restored in areas Britain fought to reclaim. For millions who voted for Brexit, this was not policy, it was betrayal. And that betrayal has ignited fury across Britain, turning Starmer's once loyal MPs into rebels, sharpening their knives. The leak has transformed political tension into outright revolt. In the Commons, whispers of discontent have hardened into calls for resignation. Labour backbenchers, furious at being kept in the dark, now accuse their leader of deception and cowardice. Some call it treachery, others brand it the final proof that Starmer cannot be trusted to lead. And the most damning part, the rebellion is not confined to Labour's own, but is Conservative MPs, sensing blood, have joined forces with Labour rebels to push forward a no-confidence vote. For the first time in years, rivals and enemies stand united in outrage, united in their belief that Keir Starmer's time is up. Inside Labour headquarters, the atmosphere is nothing short of panic. Staffers describe scenes of shouting, denial and paranoia as the leadership team scrambles to control a narrative, slipping away faster by the hour. Every leaked detail deepens the crisis. Every headline fuels the rebellion. Starmer's allies insist he has been misunderstood, that the deal was about pragmatism, about stability, about forging a new partnership with Europe. But his enemies, and increasingly his own MPs, see only weakness, surrender and betrayal. The narrative has taken root, and once it spreads, it becomes almost impossible to contain. What makes this moment so explosive is not just the content of the deal, but the secrecy surrounding it. Starmer's MPs were not consulted. Parliament was not briefed. Communities most affected, on fishermen, workers, industries, were left in the dark. To many, this was not only a betrayal of Brexit, but a betrayal of democracy itself. And that perception is poisonous. It is now the rallying cry for MPs demanding his head, for protesters preparing marches, and for rivals like Nigel Farage, who has wasted no time in branding Starmer the Brexit betrayer-in-chief. Reform UK rallies have already capitalised on the leak, portraying Starmer's hidden deal as proof that only they defend the will of the people. Beyond the walls of Westminster, the anger is spreading like wildfire. In coastal towns, fishermen accuse Labour of selling them out, claiming their futures have been traded away for Brussels approval. In red wall seats, lifelong Labour voters feel deceived and abandoned, their loyalty shattered. Constituency offices are flooded with complaints, activists are resigning in protest, and the very base Starmer, once promised to rebuild, is slipping away. The betrayal has cut deep, and the wound is bleeding across every corner of Britain. The momentum of rebellion is accelerating, and the no-confidence vote has become more than parliamentary procedure. It has become a symbol of anger, a test of trust, and the stage upon which Keir Starmer's future now hangs by a thread. Insiders whisper that the revolt is larger than anyone admits, that senior Labour figures once loyal are going quiet, refusing to defend him publicly, distancing themselves in silence, and silence in politics often speaks louder than words. It signals the end. As the hours tick down to the vote, Westminster is trembling under the weight of a rebellion that has grown too powerful to contain. Seasoned MPs compare the mood to the dying days of past governments, when authority disintegrates, and every decision feels like a last stand. For Starmer, this is no longer about managing dissent. It is about survival. And as Britain watches the crisis unfold, one question dominates. Is this the moment that Keir Starmer's leadership finally collapses under the weight of betrayal and revolt? The storm inside Westminster is now raging at full force. What began as whispers of discontent has erupted into open rebellion, with MPs turning against their leader in a revolt that is gathering momentum by the hour. The leaked EU deal has become the spark that lit the fire, but the anger now runs far deeper than policy. This is about trust, loyalty, and the very soul of the Labour Party. Keir Starmer, once seen as the steady hand who could guide Labour back to power, is now branded a traitor by his own colleagues. His authority shattered, his future hanging by the slimmest of threads. Behind closed doors, the scenes are chaotic. Meetings that were once orderly and disciplined have descended into shouting matches, with MPs accusing Starmer of betrayal and dishonesty. Staffers describe an atmosphere of fear and paranoia inside Labour headquarters, where every conversation feels like a leak waiting to happen, and every new revelation pushes the party closer to implosion. Starmer, desperate to hold on, lashes out at critics, calling them disloyal and reckless, but the more he attacks, the weaker he appears. Each outburst only fuels the rebellion, making him look less like a leader in control and more like a man watching his authority crumble beneath him. The revolt has also broken through the walls of Parliament and spilled into the streets. In fishing towns across Britain, communities are mobilising with unprecedented anger. Boats draped in banners accusing Labour of treachery are already appearing in harbours from Scotland to Cornwall. Protest marches are being planned in coastal towns like Grimsby, Hull and Plymouth. Once loyal Labour strongholds now united in fury. For these families, fishing rights are not an abstract policy. They are survival, livelihoods and tradition. To see those rights traded away in secret feels like a wound too deep to forgive. For them, Starmer's name is now synonymous with betrayal, and this fury is not confined to coastal Britain. In the Red Wall constituencies, so the Heartlands Labour desperately needed to win back, the backlash is ferocious. Constituency offices report a flood of resignations. Local party activists refuse to campaign. Lifelong Labour voters openly declare they will never support the party again under Starmer's leadership. These communities, already sceptical after years of feeling ignored, now believe their trust has been shattered for good. Reform UK is moving swiftly to capture the moment, seizing on the anger with a simple, brutal message. Starmer betrayed Brexit, and only reform stands for the people. Inside Parliament, the numbers are shifting rapidly. Conservative MPs sense weakness and are pushing the revolt forward with ruthless precision, framing the no confidence vote as a matter of national credibility. Labour rebels, once hesitant to challenge their leader, are now emboldened, speaking openly of betrayal and demanding his resignation. Cross-party alliances are forming with a rare unity of purpose, not based on ideology, but on shared outrage at what they call Starmer's surrender to Brussels. This unusual cooperation has turned a Labour crisis into a national earthquake, one that threatens to bring down not just a leader, but the entire direction of British politics. Senior Labour figures, once vocal in their support, have fallen silent. Shadow cabinet ministers who might once have defended Starmer are now distancing themselves, calculating their own futures as the ship begins to sink. The silence of these senior figures is deafening, a silence that signals the end may already be written. Whispers of leadership challenges swirl through the corridors of Westminster, with potential successors quietly manoeuvring in the shadows. The knives are out and everyone knows it. The question is not whether they will be used, but when. Meanwhile, the media has unleashed a relentless barrage. Headlines scream of betrayal, collapse, and revolt. Leaked details of furious meetings dominate the front pages. Footage of Starmer branding his critics. Traitors is replayed endlessly, painting a picture of a leader unravelling before the nation's eyes. Editorials question not just his competence, but his integrity, warning that his leadership is on the brink of disintegration. Each headline chips away at his credibility. Each broadcast fuels the perception that he is no longer in control. In politics, perception can be more deadly than reality, and the perception now spreading is that Starmer's collapse is inevitable. Economists and business leaders are adding their voices to the storm, warning that the deal with Brussels risks damaging Britain's economy for years. Investors are rattled, markets fluctuate, and fears of instability deepen. What was meant to be a demonstration of Starmer's pragmatism has instead been branded a catastrophic miscalculation. By reintroducing EU oversight in key sectors, he has undermined Britain's flexibility to strike trade deals and weakened its position on the world stage. Instead of stability, his secret deal has unleashed chaos, uncertainty, and division. This rebellion is no longer a political dispute. It is a battle for survival, a test of whether Britain's leaders can be trusted to keep their word. For Labour MPs, the choice is becoming clear. Remove Starmer now or risk watching their party collapse under the weight of betrayal. The no confidence vote has become the symbol of this moment, not just a parliamentary procedure, but a national reckoning. As the countdown to the vote continues, Westminster trembles, the streets roar with anger, and the nation waits to see if Keir Starmer can survive the revolt that is tearing apart his leadership, his party, and his future. The rebellion has now reached boiling point. What began as anger over a secret EU deal has spiralled into a full-scale power struggle that threatens to rip Labour apart and plunge Westminster into historic turmoil. Starmer, once portrayed as the man to steady Britain's second-largest party, is now fighting for his very survival, cornered by enemies on all sides and abandoned by allies who no longer believe he can lead. The no-confidence vote, once seen as a symbolic protest, has become the weapon of choice in a rebellion that is growing too powerful to stop. Inside Labour, the fractures are now open wounds. Backbench MPs are no longer whispering in corridors. They are speaking loudly, demanding change, warning that Starmer has betrayed the very people Labour was meant to defend. Shadow cabinet ministers who once stood firmly by his side now hesitate to be seen with him. Their silence, a betrayal more cutting than any spoken word. Some are already positioning themselves as future leaders, circling like vultures over a man they believe cannot last. Every hour that passes, more MPs break ranks, declaring their support for the revolt. Starmer's authority, once unchallenged, is evaporating before the nation's eyes. The fury is no longer confined to Westminster. Across Britain, protests are growing. Fishing communities march through harbours with banners branding Labour as traitors. In red wall constituencies, rallies grow larger, their chants echoing with rage against a leader they say sold them out. What was meant to be Labour's path back to power has instead become a map of its collapse. Constituency Labour offices are flooded with angry letters, resignations, and threats to withdraw support. Activists who once knocked on doors with pride now refuse to campaign, saying they feel ashamed to defend a leader they no longer trust. For many, this is not politics. It is betrayal of their votes, their voices, and their hopes. Meanwhile, Nigel Farage has seized the moment with ruthless precision. Reform UK rallies are swelling with disillusioned voters, their chants echoing across constituencies that were once Labour's heartlands. Farage calls Starmer the Brexit betrayer-in-chief, and the message is sticking. Polling begins to show reform climbing in areas Labour desperately needs, particularly in working-class towns where Brexit was never about politics, but about pride, control and survival. Each speech, each fiery interview, each headline strengthens the narrative that Reform, not Labour, speaks for the people. And every percentage point gained in the polls tightens the noose around Starmer's leadership. In Westminster, the atmosphere is electric, charged with tension. MPs describe scenes that feel less like routine politics and more like the final days of a crumbling government. Every meeting is a battlefield. Every vote, every speech, every whisper feels decisive. Reports from inside Labour reveal a leadership team in meltdown, where fear has replaced discipline and paranoia fuels every decision. Staffers leak stories of frantic meetings, shouting matches, and desperate attempts to spin a collapsing narrative. The cracks are too wide to hide, and each new leak fuels the firestorm. The sense of inevitability is heavy in the air. The media's spotlight only makes things worse. Headlines scream of betrayal and collapse. Commentators compare Starmer's crisis to the darkest moments of modern politics. Theresa May trapped in her Brexit deadlock, Jeremy Corbyn brought down by mass resignations, Gordon Brown fighting desperately as his authority slipped away. Each comparison reinforces the same brutal truth. Keir Starmer has lost control and the final blow is coming. Financial markets add another layer of pressure. Investors, rattled by political instability, warn that Britain's credibility is collapsing. Sterling wobbles, business leaders express alarm, and economic uncertainty deepens. The very deal Starmer thought would stabilise relations with Brussels has instead unleashed chaos, undermining confidence both at home and abroad. Instead of appearing pragmatic and competent, Starmer looks reckless, weak and desperate. For Starmer himself, the pressure is unbearable. Insiders whisper of late-night meetings filled with rage, accusations and threats. They describe a leader lashing out at his own MPs, branding critics as traitors, warning of deselection and demanding loyalty, but each threat backfires. Each attempt to impose discipline fuels greater defiance. Instead of fear, MPs feel emboldened, sensing that the tide has turned against him. The harder he fights to tighten his grip, the faster it slips through his fingers. The no confidence vote now looms like a guillotine. For rebels, it is no longer just about Brexit, it is about trust, about integrity, about whether Labour's leader can ever again be believed. For Starmer's enemies, it is the opportunity to finish him off. For his dwindling allies, it is a test of loyalty they may not survive politically. And for the nation, it is a moment of reckoning, the point at which betrayal, secrecy and weakness collide in a spectacle that could end the career of a man once destined for Downing Street. As the countdown continues, Westminster feels like a powder keg waiting for a single spark to ignite a full-blown explosion. The rebellion is not slowing, it is accelerating, drawing in new voices, new alliances and new momentum with each passing hour. Keir Starmer stands isolated, surrounded and weakened as the storm grows louder, the pressure grows heavier and the walls of his leadership close in around him. Britain watches, holding its breath, as the revolt threatens to destroy not just a leader, but the very foundations of the Labour Party itself. The storm that has been brewing now explodes into full force. The whispers of discontent, the murmurs of betrayal, and the quiet plotting in shadowed corridors erupt into open warfare on the floor of Parliament. What began as outrage over a leaked EU deal has become a political inferno consuming Keir Starmer's leadership. The countdown to the no confidence vote has reached its final hours, and the sense of inevitability is crushing. Every step Starmer takes feels heavier, every glance from his MPs colder. Westminster has turned against him, and he knows it. Inside the chamber, the tension is unbearable. MPs sit rigid, the air thick with hostility as rebels sharpen their words like daggers. Each speech cuts deeper, accusing Starmer of treachery, weakness and betrayal. His critics no longer mince words. They call him a man who deceived the nation, who sold Britain's sovereignty in exchange for political convenience, who has no moral compass and no loyalty to his own people. The accusations echo across the benches, amplified by cheers from rebels and stony silence from those too afraid to defend him. Starmer tries to respond, but his words fall flat. The authority he once commanded is gone. His speeches, once sharp and disciplined, sound desperate, defensive, hollow. Even as he insists that his EU deal was in Britain's best interest, no one believes him anymore. His credibility is shattered, his image broken. Every word he speaks only fuels the sense that he is a man clinging to power he no longer possesses. The chamber does not see a leader. It sees a ghost of authority, weakened and cornered, fighting a battle already lost. Outside Parliament, the fury continues to swell. Protesters crowd the streets with banners branding Starmer a traitor, their chants echoing through Westminster like a drumbeat of rebellion. Television cameras capture the chaos, police lines straining to hold back surging crowds, flares lighting the night sky, chants of resign growing louder by the minute. For the watching nation, it is more than just politics. It is spectacle, a collapse in real time. Social media explodes with footage of protesters burning Labour flags, of furious speeches from MPs, of clips showing Starmer's most trusted allies deserting him one by one. And then comes the hammer blow. Senior Labour figures who once shielded him step forward to demand his resignation. Whispers that his own deputy is plotting against him spill into the press, confirming what many suspected. Starmer is now truly alone. The revolt is not just about rebellious backbenchers. It is about his entire leadership team fracturing beneath him. His inner circle, once fiercely loyal, now leaks details of his private breakdowns, his raging temper, his frantic attempts to buy time. Every leak is a knife in the back. Every betrayal a signal that the end is closer than anyone dared imagine.